Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just wrote this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everybody, I'm Preacher Mars, host of the SOS, The Shout Out Show. Hope you're having a tremendous, tremendous Tuesday. Got to keep up with the days here. A tremendous Tuesday, and if you're not having a tremendous Tuesday, be thankful that you at least had a Tuesday to not have a tremendous one. Maybe the next one you have a better day. You never know. And I'm saying this because this is the age of you never know. This is the age of you can't take things for granted. This is the age of you really have to look at who you are, who your neighbors are, who your family members are, who the people that are rooting for you on different levels, your personal level, health level, spiritual level, financial level. Who are the people in your team? Is something that we want to talk about today. As well, I want to do the usual housekeeping. If you are coming to the Shout Out Show for the first time, thank you for spending your time. We appreciate you. More importantly, the rules are very simple. If you have something you want to say, express yourself, put them in the comment box, and we're going to give you your shout out because you're going to get your shout out one way or another. The only way I can give it to you is if you're in the comment section because I can't see across all the platforms. That's number one. Number two, if you don't mind, please, if you're new to the show, new to the platform, please click the like and subscribe button if you don't mind. I really appreciate that. It would make my day. We're trying to grow this podcast, and I think that we have a very special we had a special presentation. We have a very special project here. It's not so much me as the host, but I mean in the regards of the people who come on the show. And the people I'm gonna come on the show, these are the shout out show soldiers, my shout out show family, family friends, people we've met along the way. And I think it's interesting because this particular topic, I don't want to say this is a different topic. It's been bothering me. Even as a comic, comedically, there's always some things that I don't touch as a comic. So let me first give a shout out to everybody in the chat room. First, we'll give a shout out to Sister Sultana, consultant producer. As I always say, the show does not happen without her. Please encourage Sister Sultana to keep pushing to do hosting because I believe she's going to be a great host. I don't want to lose her from the shout out show, but sometimes you got to let a bird fly. You know what I'm saying? Sister Reed, are you home now? Or are you still in Michigan or Indiana? I can't remember which one you were going to. But either way, wherever you are, Reed, I hope that you are having a good time and you're enjoying yourself. You deserve it. Got you in my prayers. Sister Ika, all the way from Indonesia, waking up way before the Fajr button comes up. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And my brother, walaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Appreciate you, JT. This is my homeboy right here. This is my other brother. Comes on the show. Win, plays the show. Rain or shine. And, you know, it's hard to have good friends like that, good family like that, good brothers like that, good sisters like that. So don't overlook it. And Sister Jasmine, Fruits all the way from London. Good to have you back on the telecast. You know, you are a welcome addition any show we do. And my main man from Toronto, brother Altaf Rashid, all the way from Toronto, the big TO. Man, I hope it's I think you guys had good weather up there today. Is that right, Altaf? A decent weather. It was getting cold, but I think you might have caught a day or two. It actually was kind of warm around here, but I know my dad got in the 60s, and we hope to get in the 60s around here, inshallah. You never know. So the topic of today, let me frame this out clearly before I make any kind of assertions. This is going to be based on something that I read out of the Quran. So let's just start right there. This is from Surah 8, ayat 25. And it says, and beware of discord, which does not afflict the wrongdoers among you exclusively, and know that God is severe in retribution. Let me say that again. And be aware of discord, which does not afflict the wrongdoers exclusively, and know that God is severe in retribution. I thought about this. I heard this from a man, Khalees, down in Houston, Ibrahim Islamic Center. And he said this to me, and I want you to know that it touched me in a way. I'm not just saying as a Muslim, but as a thinker, as a critical thinker, like all of us are on this show. Let me give my shouts out to my main man, Big C. Good to have you on the show, brother. Assalamu alaikum. All right, Ree. Okay, all right. Give Auntie a hug and let her know we all love her and we want her to have a full and a swift recovery. And this is the baddest lady in insurance, everybody. Financial advisor extraordinaire, my Aunt Maxine Cade. If you want to know about her, just look at me. We don't do things half-stepping. But let me repeat this again, because it has a lot to do with 1, intentionality, 2, life, 3, understanding environments, and 4, success. Surah 8:25, and this is the last I'm going to say, and beware. Beware is the aspect that you have to understand environments. Beware is the aspect that you have to have an informed self, whereby when you run into something, you encounter something, it is not a novel experience. It's not your first time. When people say beware, it is mentioned, it's thought that's forementioned, if you will. Beware of discord, which does not afflict the wrongdoers among you exclusively, and know that God is severe in retribution. I think about that, man, and that's the last time I'm going to read it, brothers and sisters, because there's a lesson there, and that lesson has to do with what we allow. What we allow. Okay, all right, brother. I'll tell you, cold weather is there. All right. Hopefully, you guys get a little warm on heading into the week. But I thought this up, and I thought about it because I thought about this concept. I thought about the subject matter for today, which was the art of spiritual misinformation. The art of spiritual misinformation, and in this whole idea that that calamity, that bad fortune, does not affect the wrongdoers exclusively. It means that we as human beings, as brothers and sisters, as citizens, we share, whether we want to or not, we share in collateral damage. We share in collateral damage. You know, there's a term in a documentary called The Corporation. And the corporation, in fact, I think Brother Dave Chappelle turned me on this documentary. But the one thing I pulled out of this, this thing was this idea of externality. Externality, which means that for me, for A and B, or to get from A to C, something's going to happen to B. And those circumstances are not something that you really hold on to. It means that it's an externality. Like if I want, brothers and sisters, to rob a bank, and there's a security guard there with a gun, and the money's right there, and I shoot the security guard dead. I shoot the security guard dead, and several people in the bank. To me, they're not victims. In a corporate mind think they are externalities. And what we have now is almost a legitimization of externalities. We look at people as byproducts, as incidentals in terms of the world that's around us. I was talking to a good friend of mine. We were talking about the whole COVID thing. And it was amazing that during the last days of the election, that the president would call together groups of people. Hear me now. Call together groups of people already advocating this idea that Corona was a hoax. It was a Democratic, whatever, boogeyman, and people, you don't have to like wear a mask. Look at me. And people would line up to this. Hear what I'm saying? They would line up for this. And when he left, in some regards, people were left without rides to their cars. People were left stranded. And some people died. Herman Cain, which was not really talked about much, he attended the Tulsa rally. And when he died, what was interesting, and it's almost spooky because they have a picture of him with other black people. I guess the only black people at the rally that they could find. But this guy died, and he was treated in some regards almost like an externality. He was there and took a picture for other black people to say, hey, look, come on to campaign, even though he died. And we attach no realistic value to what happened, why it happened, and even if it was avoidable. And so we've come to this situation, I want to say, in some regards, we come to this situation whereby we now see the aspects of spiritual misinformation. When I say spiritual misinformation, you may not have heard this term before, and I haven't really used it a whole lot because it's now being used to pollute the spirit. It's procedural. First, you pollute the spirit, and then you feed it information. You pollute it, and then you feed it information. The advent of a Karen, as we like to say, is not a Karen that calls the phone on black people. Oh, they're doing a barbecue. They're breathing. I saw a black man blinking. Oh my gosh. I saw a black man with another black child, and he put her in the back seat. I think he's kidnapping that little black girl. They look alike, so they shouldn't be hard to find. It is the scope of spiritual information, misinformation, that creates, if you will, a new environment for people to act out on their worst selves. We joke, we mockingly joke about Karens, but we don't look at the history of Karens. Brothers and sisters, Karens are a prime example of spiritual misinformation. I can't laugh about Karens anymore. You know why? There was a Karen that killed Emmett Till. And that Karen, on her deathbed, decided to tell the world that Emmett Till did not whistle at me in that store. The story she told a bunch of white men that massacred that boy. He didn't do it. But you waited. You waited to your own time, till you face your own mortality to tell people, hey, I lied. And what that is not wanting to own up, not wanting to take on the responsibility and accountability for being a liar. You would do it on your deathbed because it was easiest. There's certain, I want to say certain characteristics, if you will. Certain characteristics about the spiritual misinformation. Allow me to bring it up for you guys. One of several evidences of spiritual misinformation. One is how we value life, how one group values another's life. And in valuing that other's life or devaluing life, it leads to the fact that there becomes a very, very open form or permissible form of killing. Killing. When you cloud, and everybody knows some of the most violent actions in the world towards people, towards humanity have centered around what? Religion. Spirituality and religion. So it's no different now. Here in the United States, as well as around the world, it's happened around the world. It's going on now in China and places like that. Russia, places like that. But here in the United States, we've had a space where, of course, there's been this regard for freedom of religion. Well, now the freedom of religion has been removed, and we now have permissibility for killing. Not just, quote unquote, justifiable homicide. We're talking about probable cause homicides. meaning probably, but not definitive. And so the scope of that becomes something that's even more, I say, even more disruptive, if you will. The second root of spiritual misinformation, brothers and sisters, finds a foundation in misguidance. Misguidance. I told people yesterday, you don't get old being a fool. You get old, you don't get old being a fool, right? You get old deliberately by deliberate action. That's how you become a fool. There's deliberation on being a fool. If you look at it now, and when you watch the news, the CNNs, the Fox News, the MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, what is the scope is? The scope is to create a pathway, a platform where you feel comfortable in your guidance. Well, we don't create the news. We don't put the stories on TV. We don't write the leads. We don't do any of that. What we do is we react to them. And in reacting to them, we give them information. Even in the spiritual, even the most spiritual sense, is corrupt. People who do Muslim Pro on the app have just found out that Muslim Pro gives their data is bought by the U.S. I think the U.S. military, whoever. So all these Muslim folks been giving their data. Over 90 million people have been giving their data, and they're just finding out that these foreign entities are buying your information and giving it back to you, trying to mine you for information, which is probably a whole nother story. But it is misguidance. I want to say the willful execution of misguidance is exactly what this whole election was for. We don't vote on ideas anymore. We vote on who we trust to give us the truth, or who we trust to give us what we want. That's 1 and 2. Now, let me add this one in. And this is the big one, because I don't want to miss it and I don't want to gloss over it. But one of the biggest aspects of spiritual misinformation is that it provides a housing. When I say a housing, I mean it creates spiritual energy and authenticity and agency for people to promote and accept immorality. Promote and accept immorality. Now, I have some people on here. My Aunt Maxine, I think my Aunt Maxine and my mom, and a lot of brothers and sisters, I want to say over the age of maybe 65. Yeah, I'd say over the age of 65. Can attest to an America that promoted inside the confines of America immoral behavior, particularly towards African Americans. And I don't have to give you proof of this. You can go and watch any old King speech in March and look at the brutality of what people did to African Americans. I'm talking about anything from King's assassination to John Lewis being busted upside the head on the bridge, to all of these things, brothers and sisters. And what you see and what you have to peel back, look at the pictures, what you have to peel back is that immorality to them was moral privilege, meaning the laws allowed me to do this. And it's really dangerous when people think that laws give them moral position. Think about that a minute. For years and years and years, the ability to, without shame, if you will, without shame and without fear of retribution, I could do what I wanted to African Americans. I could do whatever I wanted to Native Americans. I could do whatever I wanted to Latinos, because I had the provocation of law over my shoulders that emboldened me. Not it emboldened me and empowered me to keep up this whole aspect of immoral behavior. But it wasn't immoral because it was legal. That, brothers and sisters, is what you're dealing with now. You are watching behavior revert to a point or return to a point where folks believe that I somehow, particularly through this president, have the power of law to do these things to African Americans, to do these things to Latinos. Think about that. The first thing I talked about was spiritual misinformation, the art of it. The art of it is the illness of it. It's the evil of it. It is the twisted genius that let people think that this is normal behavior. The killing, the misguidance, the general acceptance of immorality, it's okay. And then the last part, maybe not the last part, but one thing that we have to look at is where do you get your information from? Where do you get your information from? There's a old thing that said, snitches get stitches. But now the snitches don't get stitches. They get record deals. They get pardoned from prison. They get to indict people who haven't done anything. Think about this. I was watching this thing on Instagram today about a guy who basically, someone in a store who didn't identify themselves told the clerk at the store that so-and-so is trying to steal stuff. They call the police, and the police come and address this person. This person wasn't trying to steal anything. He still had the items in his cart. If you're going to steal something, now I'm not a thief, but I'm thinking if I take something, the general rule is you want to take it someplace whereby you won't get caught. This guy was still in the store, and the police were harassing him. He said, "My cart is right there. I'm not even leaving the store. My cart is right there. I have money." He said, "Who called you?" And they said, "That doesn't matter." It does matter. It does matter. Because if you're telling me it doesn't matter, it means that as for law enforcement, you're not doing your job. You are a part of the problem and nowhere near the solution. And this is something I also want to say to all my brothers and sisters. When you speak to somebody and you ask them a question, do it with good intention. Don't proffer ideas hoping that you can extract something beyond the scope of that question, beyond the scope of that conversation. Don't throw out narratives looking for a response, because then you are engaging in an art of spiritual misinformation. If I ask you how your job is going in the conversation and how do you like your job as a setup to borrow money from you, that is spiritual misinformation. You should ask me what you want, not lead me and meander through all this stuff that doesn't have any merit. That is spiritual misinformation. Don't ask me things, or don't ask your brothers and sisters, your husbands and wives things that are meant to be information that you can use to render them when they're vulnerable, to speak on it when they're vulnerable, when they're hurt. The thing that you know will hurt them worse is the thing you hold out like, aha, the aha moment. You have to get through that. Because if you don't, you're going to summarily contribute to exactly what I'm talking about with spiritual misinformation. And of course, fitna, the trials of wealth, the trials of children, trials of marriage. But they're trials. The framework is that, do you have the Constitution to say what needs to be said in the most difficult of times? Good times, happy times, death. Do you have the spiritual fortitude to give them the right information? Years ago, when I was a kid, I was brokenhearted that there was no Santa Claus. And the way it was introduced to me is that my father was putting together my toys. God bless Clifford Moss Sr. or Jr. Well, Senior too. But he's putting together my toys. And my dad liked to put toys together. We liked to drink while he's putting together the toys. So the toys might be a little jacked up. But I guess it was just a little series of toys that had really frustrated him. And imagine you bought the toys, you've gone to the store, you saved money, you deprived yourself, and when you run downstairs, the kid runs downstairs on Christmas Day, you go, look what Santa Claus gave you. And I think my dad was a little still touched because he was like, Santa Claus ain't put them damn toys together. I did. Damn Santa Claus. And what was even more important was that there was such an impetus on Santa Claus and toys that we would forget the whole narrative of what Christmas really was. And in that space, brothers and sisters, we, if you will, have to get beyond the point of waiting for challenges and trials to come our way. We have to look for opportunities and challenges as a balance, if you will. I'm clear about hard times and hardships, but the balance is challenges and opportunities. Looking for challenges and looking for opportunities. This is something that has to be really, 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 I want to say nuanced when we're talking about the art of spiritual misinformation, because the art of spiritual misinformation is that it looks for negative opportunities. It proffers negative challenges. You know, think about how much we talk about coronavirus, employment, the president. It should not be anybody's. It shouldn't be really any surprise to anybody that the person that's disingenuous, the person that's spiritually disconnected, needs distraction, needs misinformation. Okay, misinformation is one level, but redirecting, reframing spiritual Jesus, if you will, spiritual surplus, if you will, for negative response, for negative intentions is criminal. And you now see that in these homes, in these suburbs, in these rural areas, even in the urban areas, I ain't gonna leave us out of it. There has been a festering of spiritual misinformation to the point that religion is questioned. Religion is questioned because religion in some regards has become stagnant. The people we need to help the most are not going to listen to us. Thus, like children, you have to go and grab them by the hand and bring them to the truth. And I'm saying nobody wants to put that kind of energy out, but it's a real thing. It's a truthful thing. You've got to reach and bring them to the truth. And think about this, folks. Does it necessarily get any easier? Does it necessarily become more happenstance? I don't know, but I would say no. I would say no because to reverse spiritual misinformation and take it to spiritual information, spiritual engagement, spiritual empowerment, which is the opposite of it, you have to have the ethic. You must have the ethic to turn it around. And let me tell you something. Having ethic is one of the most difficult things you can deal with right now. When everything is falling down, do you have the drive? Do you have the integrity? Even when it's not going to work to your benefit, do you have that, brothers and sisters, to turn situations around? And I would say, of course, a lot of us do. But the ones that don't, but the ones that openly engage in this spiritual misinformation or the art of spiritual misinformation, and I've run them down to you, brothers and sisters, they are part of an illness in society, an illness in our communities, an illness in our schools, and an illness in our government. And we have to do due diligence, whereby if we cannot grab them by the hand and bring them to the truth, we have to remove them altogether. So I'm about to close out, brothers and sisters. Let me give you this rundown. Some of the symptoms of spiritual misinformation. One, the overall permissibility, acceptance, and mainstreaming of killing. And I would also say not killing, but also aggression. Aggression. You can say killing, but aggression. How people aggressively approach you, how people aggressively deal with you. And also the spread and widespread acceptance of the idea of misguidance. We talk about Trump telling a lie every day since he became president. That guy's lied every day since he became president, darn near. Or on average, he's lied every day. To the point that we see his misguidance and we just accept that it's going to be misguidance. You can't accept it, you have to end it. The big one, of course, is the idea that we accept immorality. See, the difference between the old school and the new school is that the old school fought against immorality. New school, we showed up, we didn't know anything about immorality because we didn't have to fight against it. Therefore, in some regards, we took it for granted. We accepted that it was always going to be here. And in a sad way, we didn't think that we had to fight for it. Well, we've been proven wrong. And the last part also I'm going to say is, how we communicate, where we get our information from, and when we're talking to people, what are our intentions? Are we speaking to people honestly? Because if you're not, you're no better than the people that I've talked to on this broadcast, the people who indulge and excel in spiritual misinformation. So listen, that's all I got for you today. I hope you got something out of it. If you didn't, I apologize, and I hope that maybe I'll do a better job next time. But for those who stuck around and listened, of course, I appreciate you. That's number one. And the other part is, listen, none of us is perfect. I'm not perfect. What I try to do is point out some things that may make us better or make us more aware. Remember, the warning about things that will come or retribution that will come it won't affect the wrongdoers exclusively. What does that mean? It means that you just can't peel yourself from humanity. You can't just pick out parts of the air that you're going to breathe for you and not for them. The sun doesn't just shine on you, it shines on the wrongdoer as well. And in that, it lets you know, in many regards, even though I've talked about this cast of people, this group of people, if we're not careful, we could be the same folks. All right, brothers and sisters, God bless. Hope to see you again. Reed, shout out to Auntie. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. See you tomorrow, inshallah.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your Shout Out Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next Shout Out Show. Simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarifa Tar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.